Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy. Welcome back to another video. So I was not aware of the fact that apparently this year is the year for video game movies. Holy shit. I just watched the movie Tetris, and let me tell you, it blew my mind.
Modded Movie Review.
So right off the bat, this is the second Apple TV movie that I've watched, and both of them have been pretty fucking solid. So I will go ahead and say this. Apple TV is pretty damn good. And when it comes to, like, prices, it's one of the cheapest subscription services at the moment. So I'm not, like, sponsored by them, or I'm not, like, saying necessarily you should go get Apple TV. But so far, it's seeming like it's kind of worth it. But to get right into the movie, it is so stylistically beautiful. There is a scene that uses diegetic music in one of the best ways I think diegetic music has ever been used in a movie. This movie kind of had, like, The Social Network mixed with Pixels, yes, the Adam Sandler movie, mixed with some Jason Bourne spy espionage shit. Any Cold War movie you've ever watched. This was a fucking phenomenal movie, and I had no idea anything about the story of Tetris, so it caught me very off guard, let me tell you. So getting right into it, right off the bat, Taron Egerton, chef's kiss. That I don't think that man has missed in a single role he has ever done. Love that guy so much. In this movie, he plays a guy named Hank Rogers, which he did a brilliant job portraying. And what's it called? So basically, his whole shtick is he made a video game, wasn't very successful, but when he went to the place where he was trying to sell the video game, he saw other people playing a game, and he was like, yo, that's pretty cool. I kind of want the rights to that. Found out that there are no rights to it necessarily at the moment, but this big wealthy company also kind of wants the rights to them, and because of logistics and stuff, he's not really able to get the rights of them. And he decides, you know what, I'm going to go to Nintendo, because Nintendo probably has a shit ton of money. They could probably get the rights to this, and I think I could get Nintendo on my side. So that's exactly what he does. He goes to Nintendo, tries to have a meeting with the head of Nintendo. They're a little busy, but he decides, you know what, that's okay. I'm going to illegally sneak my way back there and have a conversation with him, which is exactly what he does. But you know what? It's beautiful. This guy does a lot of illegal things in this movie, and I like that they just kind of, like, bat a blind eye to it, because he's the guy who brought Tetris to the mainstream audience, and it's such a great story. I love it. I will say this. I don't think this movie would have worked nearly as well if they had anybody who wasn't Taron Egerton. He is so charismatic, so funny, so entertaining, and I love his acting so much in this. He does a really, really good job. But basically, the parts that I didn't know about this, Tetris, for those of you guys who do not know, I'm going to give you a little history lesson, was made in Russia, back when Russia was very communist, and you couldn't really become wealthy in, Russia back then. And another big thing about Russia back then is, since they were communist, they weren't overly fond of people selling things to foreigners, so anything that was trying to be sold outside of the country was a big no-no. So the guy who made Tetris, first of all, he didn't make it to, like, sell it or whatever. He just kind of made it for himself, and then it got around from one person to another person to another person to another person to another person. And eventually, what had happened was, like I said at the beginning of the movie, Taron Egerton's character is trying to pitch a game. Nobody wants to play it, but he sees Tetris because it's gone to America, and somebody has the rights to it, but they technically don't. They have the rights to it on computer, and only on computers, and they sold the rights to somebody else. And this becomes, like, a whole, like, thing that keeps happening, is people sell the rights to stuff that they don't really have the rights to. So people are over here thinking that they bought the rights to something, but they don't have the rights to something, so it comes off as if they stole something. And Taron Egerton's character gets, tied up in this, because he decides, hey, I really need the rights to this game. I'm going to go to Russia and try to buy the rights from the game. So he doesn't know this, but Russia is not a very safe place to be right now. The Russian government is watching literally everything. KGB is literally everywhere. And the company that currently owns Tetris is a government company. So overall, he has to do a lot of really risky shit. Very interesting, very entertaining. He meets the guy who created the game, Alexei, and they become, very reluctant friends at first. It's very interesting, very entertaining, very cool. And I really like a lot of the scenes that those two have together, because they start off, the Alexei guy is, like, pissed at this American because he's just like, you plucky fucking American. You're so overly happy. You're trying to do things that you can't fucking do. It's not possible. And he's basically like so dismissive of him because at the time, Russia was such a bleak place to live, and it was so pessimistic. You really didn't have a chance. You didn't really have freedoms. You were kind of fucked over by the government. And you can see, like, the opposites between the American, who is very, like, we have freedom, we could do these things, and almost everything he does when he's in Russia is illegal. And they set that up, like, literally the first line where he's talking about how he wants to go to Russia, and they're like, you need to make sure you get a business visa. And they're like, that'll take months. I'm just going to go as a tourist. And then he breaks into a government facility as a tourist to make a business offer. Very illegal stuff that he does the entire movie. But like I said, they bat a blind eye to it because he's a guy who brought Tetris to the mainstream people. And it was really cool. But something I like about this movie, the transitions, like I said, so he lives in Japan, I believe. He lives in Japan. He goes to Russia. There's scenes that are in Britain. And every time the location switches, he constantly, what's it called? They show like an 8-bit graphic showing where they are now before they actually show the scene. And it is really cool. And I love it. And another thing that I love is, what's it called? So I'm going to talk about the diegetic scene now because around the plot points that I'm talking about is going to get to this point. So basically, Taron Egerton's character becomes best friends with, what's it called? The guy who created the game Tetris, and it is really cool. And he's like, hey, take me out. Let me see the parts of Russia where tourists wouldn't really get to see because, you know, they don't live there. They don't know where the cool hideaway spots are and stuff like that. And so Alexei takes him to this place where they are basically a bunch of, like, revolutionary people, and they're drinking to celebrate the progress that they've made, and they're celebrating. And the song, The Final Countdown, comes on or whatever, and that's the diegetic music. For those people who don't know, diegetic music is when there's a song that takes place actually in the movie. But yeah, it's The Final Countdown. Great song. They start singing it, a bunch of drunk Russian people, and it kind of creates a connection between Alexei and Hank Rogers or whatever, and they become close friends. And what's it called? They both kind of, throughout the movie, there's multiple times where they both kind of display that they'd be willing to, like, take a bullet for each other, which is so cool. And I love it. Oh, another thing, I don't think I've mentioned this. The stakes of this movie are so fucking cool. There are so many scenes where it's like, there's so much built-up tension, and you can literally, like, feel the fact that Taron Egerton's character, his heart is literally racing, because he's in a lot of danger in a lot of the scenes, and he's just kind of like, I have to do this, I've invested way too much into this, I can't risk not getting this to work out for me or whatever, and that's pretty cool. Earlier I compared this movie to The Social Network. The main reason I say that is because in The Social Network, there's Mark Zuckerberg, the twins who are trying to basically do what Mark Zuckerberg did with Facebook and create, like, the next new big thing, and what's it called? And then there's Andrew Garfield's character, who's not really, like, a big opposing threat. So in this movie, it'd be like Mark Zuckerberg is kind of Taron Egerton, but he's less of a dick. And then the two British twins, there's the big expensive company that's trying to put, what's it called, Taron Egerton's character, like, completely out of business. And then Andrew Garfield, I would say, is probably like Nintendo in this case, where he's, like, nothing but helpful the entire movie. But that being said, it's pretty cool. Really good story. Thought it worked out really, really well. The music in it was fantastic. Like I said, the transitions were great. I love how stylized this movie was. There's a lot of times where it kind of, like, switches to showing different, what's it called, like, 8-bit graphic things, and it's really interesting. Another thing that I really liked about this movie is period piece, and they do a great job really giving off the vibes that it is it's the 1980s, and I thought that they did a great job with that. What's it called? What was I going to say? Frick, I had something in line after that. Oh, there was a car chase scene, which was probably by far one of my, like, favorite scenes in the entire movie. So it starts off the Tetris sound, what's it called? The Tetris soundtrack starts playing or whatever, as a car comes in or whatever, and then basically what's happening is the Nintendo people and Taron Egerton are having to really quickly flee Russia as soon as possible. And Alexei, the guy who created the game and is now friends with Taron Egerton's character, comes and kind of saves the day. And in that scene, they have the Tetris theme song, and then it fades into I Need a Hero, but in another language, and it was so cool. It was a very groovy scene. The stakes were really high, and my favorite thing about the car chase scene is at some point, anytime the cars like hit something, it turned into like a pixelized version of the car, and it looked so cool. And then at the end, it like transitions to showing like above shot or whatever, and then it's in 8-bit graphics, and it's so cool. Another last thing that I kind of want to talk about is they have a lot of references to popular Nintendo games at the time and stuff like that. And it is really great, really entertaining, and I really think that all the actors acted really well in this movie. The music was great, the plot was great, the pacing was fantastic. And yeah, so that being said, I'm going to give this movie a solid 93 out of 100. I think that of the movies that I've seen this year, it is one of my favorites, and I definitely would 10 out of 10 recommend going out and watching it. But yeah, that's it for this video, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Pow, pow, pow.